So when a is not equal to 1 in a polynomial, because this is a is 3, and b is 4, and c is negative 4. So when you have a polynomial with a, b, and c, and you're trying to factor it, the first step is to multiply the two of them, a times c, and you get negative 12. Here's how I would actually arrange it. I would write it like this. So we know that it multiplies to give negative 12, but the values need to add to give b, which is 4. So what I need to do then is list the factors of negative 12. And so this is just a systematic way that you can do it to always just get ahead. So what are the factors? We can quickly list, we can say negative 3 and 4, right? These two multiply to give negative 12. Or 4, or we can say 3 and negative 4. Or 6 and negative 2, or negative 6 and 2. Okay, but sometimes you don't have to list all of them. You have to also just think, as you mentioned, you have to think and say, what is the one that will get me a positive 4, right? So basically, when I look at it, I'm like, wait, that will give me a positive 4. So you circle those and you factor. So the first step is find AC and B. That's step 1. Step 1 is sort of easy to just get those details out. Step 2 is to do what we did here. We need two numbers that multiply to give negative 12 and add to give b. So these need to add to give 4. If I add these together, right, I should be able to see what do I get. And the only one that fits is that one. There's other factors of negative 12. We don't need them because there will only be one set of values that would work. So then the next step, step 3, is to rewrite the original polynomial. So rewrite polynomial. So how do we do that? We go back to this polynomial and we write 3y squared plus, instead of 4y, write those two numbers that you found, 6y and negative 2y. So just put a y next to those numbers, right? Bring them down here and then keep that negative 4 at the end. So we rewrite the polynomial with a new value for b that has been substituted in. Then step 4, I would factor by grouping. Now, this is just a very systematic way that will always help any day, anytime. What does factor by grouping mean? So we have 3y squared plus 6y minus 2y minus 4. You take the first two terms, you take the last two terms. For the first two terms, we can factor out a 3 and a y. So we have y plus 2. For the second two terms, we factor out a 2 and y plus 2. So, step 1, AC and b. Step 2, what two numbers multiply to give AC and add to give b. Step 3, rewrite the polynomials with a new b. Step 4, factor by grouping. Here's the beautiful thing though, because you took the 4 values here, you took out what was common in the first two terms and what was common in the second two terms. And now you have something common between the two terms. That's the beauty of this. You can take that out. So that comes out as y plus 2, and then you have 3y minus 2. That is the answer we're looking for. That's how we find the polynomials when a is not equal to 1. In a systematic way where you're never stuck. But what happens if you can't find those two numbers and so on and so forth? Then, and maybe this would be a good time to just plug this in, quadratic formula sometimes is necessary. So let's just write our quadratic formula so that we remember that it is a tool and it will always work. Quadratic formulas will always work. The problem is they're not always efficient when you could have done it the way we just did it. So let's just, this is a good segue into, so quadratic formula, minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And you know what I'm going to have us do actually? Can you guys actually plug in a, b, and c into the quadratic formula and tell me what your answer is using the quadratic formula instead of this? So we'll take a break and let you try.